Hello and welcome to the D.Va Rework video by NotParadox. If you are unfamiliar with my rework videos, I'm going to be looking at the hero as if it is a new hero, especially for large reworks or redesigns. In this case, this is a redesign of D.Va. It is very different. While the playstyle will still feel very similar, many of the abilities are different and they react differently. So I'm going to read every ability and talent as if it's a new ability or talent. Even if they're just been moved around, I'm going to be like, whoa, look at this talent. And then we are going to go through and talk about potential build paths. And remember that with the build paths, there is no balance yet. So there might be a build path where I say, okay, well, I think this is kind of weak right now, but maybe in the future it's going to be stronger. I might say, this just seems really strong right now, but I don't know if it's going to stay the build because balance is not there. So I'm going to do my best to not talk too much about the balance of the numbers in here because all of those are subjected to change. But with that being said, let's get right into it. D.Va is a bruiser. D.Va is known because she has a large health pool that when this health pool is gone, she will then hop out of her mech and she will have a second health pool. That is a much smaller amount, being one of the lowest health pools in the game in the second portion. But she, in that human form, she can attack to get her mech back. Now, her mech also has a form of a charge counter, where when she's outside of her mech and you use your auto attack, you will be building up your mech. When you're in your mech and you're auto attacking, you will be building up a self-destruct of your mech. This self-destruct can be activated by using the E button by default. You eject from the mech, setting it to self-destruct after 4 seconds, dealing 877 to 2,412 damage in a large area. The amount of damage depends on the distance to the center of the bomb. It deals 50% damage against structures. You gain 1 charge for every 2 seconds spent basic attacking, and 25 charge per 100% of mech health lost. So if you lose 50% of your mech health, you will gain 12.5%. Yeah, 12.5% of your mech's charge by losing half of your health. And then if you're healed and you lose that again, you gain that once again. Remember that this says 1 charge every 2 seconds spent basic attacking. It does not say to heroes. So you can basic attack minions and you can also gain that same amount of charge. 1 charge every 2 seconds, which is going to make it to where it grows very slowly against this. And same thing applies. You gain charge on your self-destruct by taking damage, whether or not that's from heroes. So in this case, I'm gaining a huge portion of my self-destruct. Now, if you die, the charge of your self-destruct stays even when you leave into human form. So I was just at about 35%, and when I go back into the mech form, I will be at a different percent. While in human form, your attacks are ranged. You now have the ability to mount up, which you do not have in the normal form, and you can speed up the mech call by basic attacking. You can also speed up the mech call by using Big Shot, which you can activate to speed up your mech, and this cooldown will increase the more targets that you hit with Big Shot, which can shave off a huge amount of time on your call mech. We'll get into more of the pilot abilities a little bit later. I want to talk more about how it works within the mech. So you can see that 35-37% still there, even after losing the mech. Because it takes a while for this to charge up, people consider this to be one of her ultimate abilities. Even though she will have her own ultimate abilities, she kind of has another form of an ultimate, similarly to the dragon form of Alex Straza. And that gives you an idea of kind of the potential of self-destruct. Let's talk about our other abilities really quick. Her Q ability is called Boosters. Increases your movement speed by 115% for 1.75 seconds. That is much more than mount speed. Mount speed is 35%, so triple mount speed. Enemies that are hit take 296 damage and are knocked back. You cannot be slowed while boosters are active, and each enemy can only be hit once. So if you go and you hit someone, you cannot hit them more than once. However, you can hit an amount of enemies with this ability. Because it's fast enough, you can sometimes use this to scoop around and pull people into your team. For example, you can do this and knock it into your team if your team was over in this direction. Let's say that your team is right here. You could go like this, knock the enemies back, and then knock one person in, but you got to be fast about it because it only lasts 1.75 seconds. You cannot mount up in this form, and while shooting or channeling abilities, your movement speed is reduced by 25%. So you can see while shooting, we move slower side to side, slower forward and back. And same thing with the W active, we move slower side to side, slower front to back. And then finally, we also have the bomb, which is going to look something like this. I'm going to stand very close to one target dummy and very far from the others. And watch how the damage affects on each one. We see 2,500 on these and 1,008 damage on these, so that the damage is lower. Now in human form, you have Torpedo Dash. This ability becomes available with the Good to Go talent, so this is not something that you get unless you take that talent. You have Concussive Pulse, and I will throw in these so that we can see what those abilities do. So let's just take something. We're going to take Good to Go, and we're going to take, actually, oh, do we get both of those? Good to Go. Oh, just extra abilities. You get both of them in one, which is great. So the Q ability on this Torpedo Dash allows you to dash quickly, and you can also dash through enemies. So where you normally get body blocked, you can see I'm getting body blocked as I try to go through this guy. You can dash right through them with that. Then you have Concussion Blast, which is just a knockback. And you can see that there are two indicators of this. So if you knock them at one duration or one range versus another range, I actually don't know why there's two, because they seem to go the same range. And then in the last thing is called Mech and Big Shot. Now Big Shot used to be an ultimate ability. Now it is no longer an ultimate ability. You will activate it. It will hit everyone in a line for less damage than what it used to do. Big Shot used to, at level 20, used to do like 500 or 600 damage. Now it's only 329 damage. The enemy heroes will have their movement speed slowed by 25% for 1.5 seconds, and the cooldown of Call Mech is reduced by 5 seconds for each hero hit. So it's normally a 45-second cooldown, meaning hitting 9 heroes shaves off the entire cooldown, but naturally it's also going to be counting down on its own, and your basic attacks are going to be lowering the cooldown. This means that your Call Mech is going to have a very short cooldown, and it's going to be really effective. Those are the basic abilities for D.Va and her mech. Let's talk a little bit about her ultimate ability. So I'm going to take random talents and talk about her ultimate number 1, or heroic ability number 1, which is Bunny Hop. D.Va's mech becomes unstoppable, meaning it cannot be CC'd, and it stomps every 0.5 seconds, dealing 114 damage in a large area. Every 4th consecutive hit on a hero does 100% more damage and stuns for 0.5 seconds. It lasts for 4 seconds, meaning that you can potentially get 2 stuns on people while you're using this, because it's going to be triggering 8 times in 4 seconds, and every 4th consecutive will stun. So if you hit someone from the first one to the last one, you can potentially stun someone twice. This is what Bunny Hop looks like. And you can see the crit damage and the stun. Bunny Hop has a large radius and allows you to move slowly throughout it. And it does now have a little indicator that you can see these little bunny icons. Will give you an idea of when the stuns will go off, so you can follow them up a little bit better, or so that you can set them up a little bit better. The upgraded level 20 for this is Bunny Hop duration paused if stationary, which means if you stand still, you can now bunny hop forever. But when you move, the bunny hop duration goes again, and then it stops. I like this interaction much better than the old upgrade, but we're not going to talk about it because it's a redesign now. So this is a really cool design if you're just trying to zone out an area for a long period of time. You could essentially just walk right up to an area like this, and you can just bunny hop and sit. And range will be able to damage you, but melee won't. This will be a huge way to zone out. And especially if the melee had already gone, or if the range had already gone in, and you're just zoning out the healer this way. It's a really cool method, because you can just sit on a point. You just go on a Braxis point and just sit like this for a little while on a Braxis point against a melee hero. They can't damage you now without taking a good amount of damage. So that is D.Va's first ult, and also first ult upgrade. So now let's go into the second ultimate ability, or second heroic ability, which is micro missiles. After 0.375 seconds, channel to launch a volley of 12 missiles in a target direction. Each missile impacts the first enemy hit, dealing 96 damage in a small area, slowing the enemy hero by 35% for 2 seconds, stores 2 charges with a 5-second cooldown between the charges. So this is what it looks like. We activate it. It goes in a direction, and now let's see if we can move while we're doing it. We can go forward, we can go backward, and what it'll slow enemies. It'll be great for chasing enemies because you can chase down an enemy, slow them, and then you can get back to auto attacking them, which is a great tool. And then also when that first slow ends after 2 seconds, you have 3 more seconds before you can fire the second missile out. Having a low cooldown, this is going to be something that you'll probably just intertwine into your rotation. It's just going to be an effective tool that you're going to use very often in your rotation. It's likely going to be your ult. We'll toggle cooldowns. We'll go ult. Then we go to auto attack and we try to move with them a little bit. And then as the next one's going to go, we're going to bring out the next ult and then we're going to auto attack. And the cooldown's rather low. So you'll probably be doing that in multiple trades when you're fighting in like 1v1 situations and also chasing people down. Then let's go to the upgrade for the ult, which is timing attack. Micro missiles gain an additional charge. Each time a micro missile hits an enemy hero, reduce its cooldown by 0.5 seconds and the charge cooldown by 0.25 seconds. So if we're hitting a lot of people with it, you can see it's shaving off the cooldown to the point you can almost endlessly be firing off your ult, and I was even missing half of those. That is kind of interesting that even on the side of the indicator a little bit, you can actually miss half of them. Which is unique. It's pretty good for sustained damage. As far as the DPS of this ult, let me wait for this. I'm curious to see how much DPS it does to a single target. To see, it's about 1,000 DPS. So if you can keep that 1,000 DPS going, that's a pretty good amount of damage on a single target, especially since it seems easy to be able to keep that damage on that target. Because if they start moving to the side, you also move to the side with them, right? So that seems pretty strong for sustained damage. I don't know if this is going to be better than Bunny Hop though, or Stop and Pop. I think those might just generally be better. With all of that being said, let's start looking at the talents that are available for D.Va in this rework. The first talent tier is all about your mech. Full Metal. Increase the mech's health by 10%, as well as the fusion cannons heal for 20% of the damage dealt. Fusion cannons are your basic attack, from my understanding. Right? It doesn't say it anywhere. Yeah, fusion cannons, basic attacks, deal 50 damage in a large area. Deals 50% damage bonus against enemies that are very close to the mech. Oh, it does more damage now if they're closer. That's cool. Probably should have read the trait, actually. Let's do that. Yeah, so she still rewards 50%, but this gives her more potential in the solo lane. I said that there were 2 ways to answer D.Va's problem in the solo lane. Give her sustain or allow her to hop out of her mech on her own. The third option was don't give experience for her mech, so you could purposely give up your mech without being punished for it. Those were my 3 options for fixing D.Va in the solo lane. Because she's a bruiser primarily, she's shoved in the solo lane often, so giving her sustain is a great option. Remember that this is going to heal 20% of the bonus damage dealt, so this is only about the 50% more damage. So it's not going to be a huge amount of extra healing, but because you can hit 3 things at once, this could actually be a really cool talent for trying to get sustained. So let me take about half of my health as damage, and I'm just going to use the heal on the minion wave so that we can see how much healing it is if we're just hitting the front line. It's not a bad amount of healing if you can keep that extra bonus damage going. It's really not bad. But it's also not amazing either. So if people are jumping into the fights and jumping out, like a Yrel might do, this might not be the best answer, but it is a decent answer. The next option is Pro Moves. D.Va's mech gains 2% movement speed and 2 armor every time it takes damage, stacking up to 15 times. Stacks of this effect decay every 0.5 seconds. So if you're taking a lot of sets of damage, this is great for giving you a lot of armor. That's 30 armor and 30 movement speed. So you can move at mount speed during a team fight as long as you're not attacking. When you're attacking, your attack speed's going to be lowered by, or your movement speed's going to be lowered by 25%, meaning that you'll be 5% faster than everyone else when you equate for both of those things. Basic attacks against enemy heroes in pilot mode reduce the cooldown of call mech by 1 additional second. So this is all about staying in mech as long as possible and being as much of a bully as long as possible while you're in mech. I think this is a really cool talent, and it's going to be extremely powerful in team fights. Liquid Cooling has a cooldown of 50 seconds. You can activate it to gain effects of Healing Fountain. Requires mech mode. While in mech mode, Healing Fountain cooldown is reduced to 50 seconds, and its effect lasts 25% longer. So again, in the solo lane, I would admit Liquid Cooling seems really, really powerful, especially since you can use that in team fights for a lot more healing as well. Because if you don't use this and you get to a team fight, you can activate this during a team fight to essentially have a healing fountain during a team fight. This talent seems incredibly powerful, and I'd imagine it's going to be meta in most situations. Even though I really like the idea of pro moves, I think Liquid Cooling is going to be insanely powerful. Level 4, Rushdown. Boosters deal an additional 4% of maximum health as damage. It doesn't say whether that's your health or their health, but usually when things are worded this way, it's their health. If not, it would have just been a flat number because your number is going to change, right? Your health number is going to move, so it would have just been a flat number. And heals D.Va's mech for the damage dealt. Boosters deal 100% increased damage to non-heroic enemies. So the 4% only deals damage to heroes, but all the booster damage will be there for wave clear. So this is just kind of buffing your boosters in general. The problem is now you have to choose between using your boosters for dealing damage to your enemy laner or dealing damage to the minions if they're separate. If they're together, this is just a great talent in the solo lane. Aggressive Matrix. Enemy heroes within your defensive matrix receive 30% less healing. Basic attacks against heroes lower the cooldown of defensive matrix by 0.125 seconds. So this is great for team fights and finishing off targets. Nuclear Option. Hitting your self-destruct mech with Big Shot causes the self-destruct to happen 40% faster. Passive. When fusion cannons deal bonus damage to an enemy hero, you gain 0.25 self-destruct charge. Again, this potentially creates a short-range auto-attack build option if you want to get more of these out. But I would imagine Rushdown is going to be the option because it's going to give you wave clear and more of a bully potential in the solo lane. So again, it's going to come down to, do you need to win the solo lane, or are you going to be having more team fight options? As I think where it's going to really come down to determining these talents here. Level 7, Get on the Point. Casting boosters grants nearby allies 20% movement speed for 2 seconds. Passive, if D.Va has not taken damage in the last 3 seconds, booster cooldowns refresh 100% faster. So kind of, again, a booster build. You go in, do a bunch with boosters, but then you can sit back for 3 seconds and have a low cooldown, or double soak. You can double soak with this potential because it allows you to use your boosters more often. Boosters give, the initial speed of boosters is increased by 300%, then decays down to normal. During this time, boosters stun for 0.5 seconds. Wow, that's actually really cool. That's going to give you an answer to like Sonya that's spinning all the time, because now you can use your boosters to stun the spin. And also that's gonna be really valuable if you want to charge in quickly, blow up a wave, and then get back to safety. So maybe on double soaking maps you get on the point, or if you are going to be grouping up with your team and you need that movement speed, like with a Garrosh for example, you can give him 20% movement speed, and then he can go get a nice little throw. Then finally, Defense Matrix adds self-destruct charge. While at full self-destruct charge, fusion cannon's bonus damage is increased to 75%. So that's kind of neat. So overall, I think this is a really cool tier. It's going to come down to play style and map, I would say. Then we talked about the ultimate abilities, so we're not going to talk about the ultimate abilities anymore. Now let's talk about level 13. So generally the most impactful tiers for heroes is 7 and 16, where tiers like 4 and 13 are usually more utility based. So let's see if this is more utility or more damage. Target locked. Enemy heroes that remain in your defense matrix for 1.5 seconds have their armor reduced by 50 and their movement speed reduced by 25. If you combine this with aggressive matrix so that you have a low cooldown in your W, and also fusion generation to where your W is going to lower the cooldown of your ults, then having them slow and their armor removed, and also having their damage reduced, and also having their healing reduced. I mean, this is kind of crazy to think of how much impact you can have with a single W. You can almost be like a utility base like Leoric almost using this, and it's probably even in some cases better than Leoric because you're lowering healing. Your W reduces damage by 50%. You can move it around a little bit, and yeah, I mean, this is kind of crazy. This is really strong. Leorix is a little bit better because he can hit the entire team, even if they're a little spread out, where this is only going to be able to hit a few people, but the amount of other benefits you give to the people that are in there is crazy. Or not benefits, debuffs that you're doing is crazy. Good to go. Pilot mode. This is where you get those extra benefits in pilot mode. And then you have pew pew pew. In pilot mode, instead of a single shot, Big Shot fires 3 shots. Each shot deals 75% damage, but each shot's going to lower the cooldown of your mech further. So again, this is going to be better for like that mech brawler build, where the other talents will be better for team fights and for the more of the pilot mode. So if you need more DPS, single target DPS, their more pilot mode abilities to stay in pilot mode longer would be more beneficial. In this case, we're just going to take that for now. Now let's go to level 16. Level 16 for most heroes is the biggest power spike, and it's also oftentimes the last talent that you get to take in games, because the goal is to end games before the enemy team hits level 20, and oftentimes this is going to allow your team to do huge swings of value around objectives that one or both teams are around level 16. In for the kill. Casting boosters grants a shield for 10% of maximum life for 2.5 seconds. Each enemy hero hit by boosters increases the basic attack damage by 10% for 5 seconds, stacking up to 5 times. That's a huge amount of bonus damage if you're going like that possible brawler pro moves build, especially with like lower cooldowns or hit the nitrous. Could be really cool. Diverting power. In defense matrix area grows drastically in size, and each time it reduces damage, D.Va's mech is healed for 77 health. Okay, and it doesn't say what the size duration increase is, so I'm going to assume it's the old one where it goes from being this to going up to this area, like it goes wider. So let's take it because I'm curious to see what it actually looks like here. So right here, this is what it normally looks like, and now let's take this and let's toggle cooldowns. That is incredible. So I want to also express that the old talent that did this used to lower your movement speed by a huge amount. Well, now, if you use this, you can still move at normal speed. So this, I mean, that could cover a team fight. That's incredible. But let's talk about the last talent. When D.Va's mech would be destroyed and instead gains a shield that absorbs 614 damage over 4 seconds, this effect has a 30-second cooldown. Again, it could be for that like brawler-ish build, or more of like just a stun-based thing, rather than going with the other talents. Now let's talk about the level 20 talents that are down here. Increases Big Shot's damage by 75%, and reduces its cooldown by 2 seconds. So Big Shot naturally has a low cooldown, so this allows you to pretty much just range DPS with that poke. And ablative armor. 45% of ability damage dealt to D.Va's mech is returned as healing over 4 seconds. Wow, it's like a better version of Chen's stagger, where Chen will eliminate 40 to 60% of the damage he takes, and then he takes it over once it's over. Hers is the opposite. She reduces the damage. I mean, this is crazy. So let's talk about the potential builds. I think the first build that I'm looking at is a sustained annoying D.Va that just stays as long as possible, and then once you're in your mech form, or once you lose your mech, you try to get your mech back as fast as possible. I'd imagine this build would take pro moves. Now keep in mind that by taking this talent, you're going to really struggle in the solo lane. But basic attacking against heroes in pilot mode is going to reduce the cooldown of your mech much faster. So the idea of this build is going to be as annoying as possible and to be as scary as possible, as much of a bruiser as possible during team fights, and to stay in your mech as long as possible. So you're going to have 30 armor, which is going to reduce the damage you take, and you're also going to be having that extra movement speed. Then at this tier, we could go with your Q, because you're going to be wanting to use your Q to get early heals back, and you don't really want to be using your self-destruct that much. You want to stay in your mech form as long as possible, so you're going to heal yourself with your mech. Then at this level, you don't really need... You're going to be taking damage the whole time, so you're not going to go with that. You're probably going to go with stuns, so that you can get more value off of just getting those stuns. Because you're going to be staying in mech form as long as possible. I think either ult is perfectly fine, but because we're going to be increasing our basic attack damage, we don't want to be spending a lot of time doing either of these things. So I guess it's going to be very situational. I like the idea of having the stun, though, and since this is a shorter duration, 4 seconds, you're going to be auto-attacking a lot more outside of that. So we'd probably go bunny hop. Then we don't want to stay in pilot mode long, so we're not going to worry about that. We don't want to be using our W very often, because we want to be basic attacking for the most part. Which reminds me, there's a talent that we might have missed. Yeah, this one's more damage on basic attacks, so we're going to actually reset that. Pro moves into rushdown, into fusion generator, because while you're staying at full charge, you're going to be getting more damage. Then, again, doesn't matter. And then we're going to go with big shot so we can get back into mech form very quickly. And then we're going to be going in for the kill so that we can have that increased 50% damage. And now what's going to happen is we won't be able to see all of it because we need to take damage for this to happen, but we can see a decent amount. This is just for level 16. We're going to Q, get that huge shield, and heal off of it. 4% of everyone's max health we're going to be healing whenever you use our Q, and we're going to be doing a huge amount of bonus damage. So on a single target, we're doing a lot of DPS, and then we're also going to be getting that bonus damage during that. So this is likely going to be a bruiser-ish build, but I don't think that this is going to be a meta build. I think if you like the playstyle of D.Va, this will be a lot of fun. And then finally, this last level, you just go abrasive armor. The amount of extra healing that you get is insane. Headshot would allow you to get your mech back even faster, but I think ultimately the mech currently, let's toggle cooldowns for a second. Let's pop a bomb. That's actually not going to be the best example. We want to... we're going to want to burn the mech. But yeah, I mean, like, look at the amount of, like... And if we take abrasive, we're also healing off of that too. Like, you can survive a long time. But yeah, so with the new big shot, when you get out of mech, if you're just auto-attacking, you're going to really be able to get back your mech quickly. So this is going to be extremely powerful. But yeah, I'm curious to see, like, how much healing we get. Especially since your Q is going to give you shields and stuff. Well, now the abrasive's not doing its thing. Ablative. But yeah, either way, that's going to be the brawler-ish build. Let's talk about what I think is going to be more likely the competitive build, the competitive meta build anyways, which is going to be used in the competitive scene, if she's used in the competitive scene at all. But let's talk about it. I think liquid cooling is going to be the pick. Having a fountain available wherever you go is very strong. This doesn't require you to get up in the face of the enemies at all. You can only go in when you need to go in. I think this is going to be by far the talent. Then at this level, I would imagine we're going to be taking the W talents. So because we want to make sure that that you can lower the enemy's value as much as possible. So we're going to go with aggressive matrix. At level 7, we're going to be taking the W talent as well. This is going to give you more mechs. I don't actually know if we need this talent, because this doesn't actually buff your W at all. It just makes it to where you get your charge faster and you do more basic attack damage. No, we hit the nitrous. We want to be able to stun people. I would imagine that bunny hop is CC, so we're going to be going with CC over just extra damage in the competitive scene. So we're going to go with Bunny Hop. And then we're going to be going with Target Locked. And we're going to be going with Divert Power. And at the latest level, I would imagine you don't want to be spending a lot of time using your W. I'd imagine we want to just have our W going for as long as possible. And we heal off of what it does. So Ablative would make you pretty much unkillable and just following the enemies around, reducing their damage by half. So I would imagine this is what you would be doing. Just lowering their entire team's damage and armor is crazy. This is what it would be if you don't need to win the solo lane and if you're in a competitive environment. I feel like this build would be incredible. The first W goes out, and remember, we get to lower the cooldown of your W by attacking as well. So we lower everyone's health or damage, and then we get it back off cooldown. You might even use your ult to stun in between your first damage reduction and your second damage reduction. They're going to be stunned and zoned out, and then once again, we're going to heal off of all of that on that second one. That's going to be incredibly powerful. Yeah, so that it's susceptible to CC, but I mean, if they're going to use the CC on a D.Va, then all you do is you use your Q and you stun everyone and you spread out their fight, and that gives you more time to set up for your team. So this, by far, I think is the competitive build. I think it's so good. The level 10 or level 20, I would say, is situational, but I think the rest of the talents are definitely the play. And then the last build would be if you need to win the solo lane. I'd imagine if you need to win the solo lane, there may be an auto attack build you go with, but liquid cooling might still be better. This is where it gets really tricky. I'm really curious to see, like, I don't think I play enough D.Va to share what this build is. I think those other two builds will definitely be impactful. I think there is also a world where you go, I mean, I'm taking Rushdown in a lot of the builds anyways, to double soak, but you might need to take Rushdown instead of the healing reduction, even in the W build, just so you have wave clear, so you could be a little bit more like Leoric. But you actually can double soak on D.Va. A lot of people don't know this, but you actually can double soak on D.Va as early as, let me drop down the level, as early as like level 4, as long as you don't use your Q. So if you go to lane, you can position to where you hit the entire thing. You just need to position to where you're at the middle one right here. And then you just position like this. And you can kill just about everything. Right? And then we're going to use our Q. And you can use your Q to get to the other lane. And let's say that the other lane's down here. And we just do the same thing. And you just wait. You wait. You wait. You wait, and boom, that's about the same amount of time. We use our Q to get back up, and there we go. And that's essentially how you do it. I've watched a lot of people do this, and it's more than possible. It's even more possible now that they've buffed the that frontline damage. And then boom. So you could actually double soak without Rushdown, but it would make it a little bit easier. That 4% extra healing, though, would make it pretty easy to win the solo lane. So I would imagine you would still probably go that. You'd probably go liquid cooling into Rushdown to win the solo. And winning the solo only really matters up until about level 10. So after that, I mean, people are moving around a lot. So liquid cooling, Rushdown, and at this level, would you get the lower cooldown and movement speed? Or would you go with the stun? I'd imagine you'd go with the lower cooldown, because if you could just poke someone with a 4% health where you just go in, you hit them, and you get out, and then you have the low cooldown, every time that you could get away with that, that would be a lot of like free damage that you could win with, and it's a lot of free healing too. And then micro missiles, if you need to win the solo lane, would probably be better, just because, I mean, it's a lot of damage. And it's a lot of like quick burst. If you're doing that as like your engage, you engage with that, and then at the end of it, you hit them with that, and you walk away. I mean, that's a quick burst of damage that would allow you to win the solo lane. So that build would probably be more to win the solo lane, and then level 13, 16, you could still go with whatever you want to, and then 20, same thing. Overall, that is the D.Va rework, guys, as well, with some potential build options that are there. I think that they're really fun. I really like the idea of having like another Leoric, where this one has a little bit more counterplay to it. I think it's a better Leoric if she doesn't get CC'd, but if she gets CC'd, she's a worse Leoric. which is a great counterplay option. To have a better Leoric, for the damage reduction build anyways, but with counterplay, is exactly how balance design should be done, in my opinion. Is something that's more impactful, but with counterplays is definitely the option. But either way, that is what I wanted to share with you guys about the D.Va rework. Let me know down in the comments below what you think about it. What build you're thinking about going? Do you think it's going to affect the meta? I personally think that now with more sustain, she's going to be a viable solo laner, with a lot of potential, is how I'm going to share it out. And of course, everything needs to be balanced, so I'm not going to overcommit into a lot of these things. But yeah, overall, I think this is a really good balance change. I personally like it. I think the ult changes are great. I like the changes into, I say human form and mech form, but yeah, I guess that's the best way to do it. Pilot form, mech form. Either way, thank you guys so much for watching, and make sure to check out the Gazlo rework video, which I hope to have out in about an hour or so. So I will see you guys then.